if an inmate pulls out his penis to masturbate in front of a female officer, should we be allowed to immediately cuff them up, lock them up, and write them up? Well, I've always said yes. But it's unbelievable to me that some places have some particular rules on these issues. In my opinion, masturbating in front of a female officer or any officer is a form of a sex crime, my opinion. Allowing this type of behavior to continue leads to more serious crimes, and I truly believe that. Now, we have some prison activists out there that have been so upset that inmates aren't allowed to masturbate. Well, guess what, folks? Inmates should never be allowed to masturbate in front of female officers or any officer. That is a form of disrespect. That is a form of a sex crime. They should be disciplined and receive disciplinary confinement time and loss of privileges. And they should be charged by the state attorney's office, which in some cases they are, in some states, in some counties. But not all state attorney's offices will charge an inmate with a crime for masturbating in front of a female officer. Now, there is no control of an inmate if we don't take disciplinary measures and stop them from doing this masturbation in front of officers. Inmates have cried and claimed it's a stress relief. Psychologists have said it's a stress relief. Well, I would like to see some of these psychologists be present and walk by when the inmate decides to masturbate on them, all over, around them, or in front of them. See what their opinion is then. Now, these inmates have said that female officers get angry. It just depends on what mood they're in. Well, let me tell you something. There doesn't have to be any kind of mood for a female officer. This should be dealt with strictly. And it goes on more and more and more. And in some cases, it's been documented, and it has caused for class action lawsuits against the agency for allowing inmates to masturbate and doing nothing about it in front of female officers. And several class action lawsuits have been won by the female correctional officers. This is safety, folks, safety and security. If you think not taking action against masturbating inmates is going to make it safer, you're dead wrong. This is going to build for more. And the more we allow this, the more attacks we're going to have on officers. We had a female officer attacked and raped in the chapel here in Florida in one of our prisons a few years ago. The inmate hid out and did not go back to the dorm. When the female officer was checking the chapel, doing her final security check before close-up, he attacked her. This has happened before in other places. Now, some supervisors, let's hope this isn't going on anymore. Let's hope that this good old boy thought process is over, but some supervisors have been heard and have been known to say, you women who come into corrections, you signed up for this. No, they didn't. They did not sign up for this type of behavior. Inmates should never be allowed to act in this fashion. When inmates claim I'm just doing a stress relief, well, it's funny they do the stress relief at count time, when they know the officer's going to go by the cells to do count. Feeding time, when they know the officer's going to be there. When the officers make their rounds. These are all prime times for inmate gunners, as we call them, to attack and do their thing. We've had inmates tell officers, this is another true incident, where a female lieutenant was checking some things out, and the inmate was yelling, "Lieutenant, I want to talk to you. Lieutenant, I want to talk to you." Lieutenant, she finally went up there, and they opened the door, and the inmate ejaculated on the female lieutenant. We have to be very cautious about these inmates and what they'll do when you open a cell door. No, that inmate should immediately be locked up and criminal charges filed and disciplinary action taken. Some of these prison rights activists say this is cruel and unusual punishment to lock up an inmate for 60 to 90 days for masturbating. Well, if some of these prison rights activists were standing there and the inmate ejaculated towards them or on them, I wonder if they would say, "Great job, you did a good job," or would they reach out and slap the hell out of the inmate? You know, it's so nice to sit behind a cushy desk outside of the prison system, these prison rights activists, and talk about this, these psychologists who don't have to deal with it, and talk about how they must have the right to masturbate. Well, let me tell you what, they don't have the right to sexually assault female officers. And that's what this leads to. And it will progress if left alone. Officers, immediately write them up, turn it in. If your administration doesn't want to do anything about it, at least you have it documented. Keep a copy of your report. And please keep your head on a swivel and watch these particular inmates especially very carefully. They're the ones, if they're allowed to continue this behavior, that will progress from masturbation to sexual assault, attempted rape. Deviant sexual behavior by inmates must be dealt with every single time. Let us know how your agency deals with this. Let us know how you, as a female officer, deal with this type of behavior. Let us know how your supervisors handle this type of situation. And I, for one, will never, ever say that this is something that is okay. These inmates must be dealt with immediately. This is just a continuation of their behavior from the streets and a continuation of their sexual deviance, in my opinion, and it must be dealt with. Thank you very much, Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe.